Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Simeon Morrow Public Speaking and Presentations and other third parties. If you prefer to not be recorded, please turn off your camera and microphone and/or go to the Facebook Live video feed, the link to which I'll now place in the chat room. For a better experience, please turn off your microphone and set your video to gallery view. Tonight, our featured guest is Akiko Nakajima, a soprano and professor of voice and opera at the Music and Arts University of the City of Vienna. Akiko is joined by Niels Moos, a conductor and professor of the Opera Master program at the Music and Arts University of the City of Vienna. Akiko, welcome.
Thank you.
So, Akiko, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
How many minutes do I have? I'll make a quick introduction of myself, perhaps. I am born in Japan, and you can say I was brought up. From age 15, I was in Sydney, where I have studied music. And I went to the conservatorium there, and I went into the vocal ensemble that is called the Song Company. And in 1990, I won Australian singing competition, which made a possibility for me to do a debut at the Sydney Opera House. I have done the Servilia of La Clemenza di Tito of Mozart. And after that, I have gone to Europe. I sprung out there and I stayed there. And I live in Vienna now, and I am now a professor of the voice department of the university called MUC. We call it MUC. Yeah.
Fantastic. So let's listen to a recording of Akiko's. This is La Pastorella from 2006, and this is Satel Buon di l'amico Fritz. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I made I picked the wrong one. We are going to do Der Hirt auf dem Felsen.
Okay.
weiter meine Stimme dreht, je heller sie mir wieder klingt. Von unten, mein Liebchen wohnt so weit von mir, drum seh ich mich so heiß nach ihr. Je weiter meine Stimme dringt, je höher sie mir wieder klingt. Von unten.
Fantastic. So, Akiko, can you tell us a little bit about this this album and maybe a little bit how it incorporates your voice? I mean, your voice has such a soft, pleasant quality. How to explain it other than pleasant? I mean, it has such a nice sound. Is that singing leader? Is that one of your specialities, or is that quality of voice? Has that been something that you've been sought out for?
Oh, the voice, I have really had a fortune to have several great mentors in my life. One of them is Grant Dixon. He's a bass singer from New Zealand. And he was a true specialist in finding the natural voice that each of us have. So to strip off any bad habits and trying to dig into this really foundation of one's voice, because he really believed the natural voice is the most beautiful.
So this is before you won the competition, and you believe then that voices are not created, they are really made, they are really trained, they are really that it is true that we, maybe each of us can find a special quality about our voice if we try.
I really do believe so. And if you have a particular image about your voice, and if you try to be something else than what you are, instead of really appreciating what the nature has given you, then it's a certain unnaturalness about it. If you try to darken the voice because you would like to be dramatic, or if you try to do the extreme ends of your voice, that also will bring this certain brittleness to the voice that does not sound very comfortable. And you see, I'm a very small person. I am not even 160 centimeter. I remember at the time when I was very young and wanting to become an opera singer, in the Australian singing, before the competition, I wanted to join the chorus of the opera company. And I've been told I'm too small for it. The minimum height is 160 centimeter. And so I am not.
You must have been crushed being told you can't join the chorus.
Yeah. And I thought, what's the difference between the height if I have 2 centimeters, a little shorter than the average or something? But anyway, you can. So I had to learn to cope with what I have, to appreciate what I have, and make the most out of what I have. And that is something I have learned from the beginning of my singing study, which was with Grant Dixon.
Absolutely inspiring. Wow. So I'd like to bring in Professor Niels Moos. I know that Niels was performing piano on that lovely recording. Hi, Niels.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you met Akiko and how your artistic relationship started?
It's a funny story because we were in '92. We were actually a new regime taking over the opera in Innsbruck, Tiroler Landestheater, as it's called, and there we had auditions for singers, and for one audition there came a a big professor from the Mozarteum and told us that she had heard a young singer in a competition in Holland, and she demanded that that young singer would come and give an audition. And nice as we are, of course, we agreed. And this singer was actually Akiko, and then we hired her.
And so you were the music director of the theater.
No, I was what you call first Kapellmeister there, but I was listening to all the singers and having a somehow big say in what was going to happen.
Okay, and so then Akiko was hired, and how did that first season go? How did the work go when you started working together?
It was actually, you must imagine, we came to a theater that had been run by another regime for many years, and it was very difficult. But Tyrol is a wonderful place, and they thought we were horrible people. And actually, the first thing really Akiko was singing as a big part was the Daughter of Regiment of Donizetti, which is actually a Tyrolean story. And people in Tyrol was very angry about us playing that opera, and they also wrote articles in the newspaper that they would boycott the theater forever if we played it. And anyway, we came to the premiere, and Akiko was singing Daughter of the Regiment, and the day after, the big newspaper in Tyrol wrote, "We have a new national opera."
Wow!
And everyone was very proud and happy. Yeah.
What was the problem originally? Why didn't they want you to perform it?
It has to do with the story, the history of Tyrol, and the freedom movements during the Napoleonic Wars and the wars against Bavaria, and the treason of the Austrian Habsburgs towards their freedom fighter Andreas Hofer. And so it is fantastic. You come to a place where in 1992, where they could really get upset about something that happened in 1805.
And it
incredible.
Sounds like
no, it is a fantastic place. It's a wonderful people also. Yeah.
And it sounds like they came to terms with their history thanks to your performance.
Oh yeah,
Is that...
no. They were at terms with history, but it was a fantastic time in that theater, and it is a production that will never be forgotten.
Wow! So Akiko, tell us.
They thought this opera will insult the history of Tyrol. And the Tyroleans are very proud people. And they were not sure how it was going to be delivered. And they thought they're going to be, the Tyroleans are bad people or something like this. That's why they were very worried. But when we opened the premiere, they realized it's nothing to do with this complicated history at all. It is about the love story and in the beautiful place, Tyrol. And so they were very amazed.
Wow. And Akiko, tell us about this first season. You were a young singer. You won this competition in Holland, and suddenly you had this job at a famous European theater. How was that?
Well, you see, I won this Australian singing competition, and which took me abroad. And of course, my dream was to come to Europe. Me coming from Japan and brought up in Sydney, I had to have some sort of cultural stimulus. And so for me, it was fantastic to be able to sing in places like Innsbruck, which is also such a historical place. But then to have to do this Regimentstochter, we did it in German, not in French, not in Italian, but in German, because it has a dialogue, of course, in this opera. And so it is sensible and logical that they would do it in German, but not for me. I mean, I didn't have German at all, and I had to learn this dialogue in German, which was nerve-wracking. I mean, it is a huge, huge part. Marie starts the opera, and she continues till the end of the opera. And I wasn't sure if I could possibly manage it, because I know this opera from my huge mentor, Dame Joan Sutherland. And me, the beginner of opera, how could I possibly do? But there was this Niels who says, you will do it, you can do it. We will work on it together and we'll make a great success of it. And I somehow, young and naive, I believed it, and I just worked every day.
And so Niels told you, okay, this may be a political debacle in Tyrol, doing this opera and all this, and we want you to do the lead role, or what? You're the you're the newest person here.
No, he didn't tell me this. Perhaps cleverly he didn't tell me, or it wasn't even talked about at the beginning when we decided to do, when they decided to do this opera. That did not really come as a thing that was going to be, latest hot news in town. I was just busy trying to get the role into my body and get it delivered. Yeah.
And so it was a big success. And did you tell your teacher in Australia about this success?
Yeah, of course. And but I was busy. I mean, I did this yes, I did this Regimentstochter, but then I had also the Susanna in the Figaro. Each year I had fantastic roles to learn, and it's Regimentstochter is just one of the operas that we've done in these seasons.
Wonderful. Let's hear another recording of yours, which is from L'Amico Fritz.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So tell us, Akiko, a little bit about this recording, Female Portraits, and about your career then from the Tiroler Landestheater.
Well, after Tiroler Landestheater, then I moved on to Darmstadt in Germany, where I did a lot of German repertoire, like the Rosenkavalier. I did Sophie. Then I did things like Pamina in the and I have also done the Fünftermarkt in the Elektra, Hänsel Gretel, all kinds of things. That was then my Darmstadt time in around the 2 seasons I was there. Then I moved on to Volksoper. I was offered a job there and I went to Vienna. And this tenor that you just heard from L'Amico Fritz is a wonderful colleague of mine, Dario Schmunk. And we were together at the Volksoper. We did a lot of things together, things like La Traviata we did together. Not often played operetta of Mascagni, Si, it's called. Also, we've done, that was not with him, but yeah, we did all kinds of wonderful things at the Volksoper. But Dario Schmunk is...
And Akiko, is so during your career that's ongoing now, have you been particularly associated then with the German repertoire?
Yes, very much so. I mean, being in Vienna, I have done quite a few operetta as well, and a lot of Lieder. I do with all my heart, all the German repertoire in Lieder Abende. And of course, most of the time, that's always been with Niels at the piano.
And so was it kind of a surprise to you, even today, that you've specialized, so to say, so much in German repertoire as, like you said, when you arrived in Tyrol, then you thought German repertoire, that's not what I intended on doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the very beginning when I was at the conservatorium, and so I didn't even know if I was going to make it as an opera singer. As I told you, I was very small and my voice wasn't so big, and Australians are very big people and they are much taller than I am, and I was very much intimidated with that. So I thought Mozart, and I was told early that I should do Baroque music because there I have a very good chance having a leggero voice. It is a very good start. So that's how I actually went to Innsbruck, because there's this wonderful Baroque music festival there, Altmusik festival. And that's where I was engaged to do Alcina, the Handel's opera at the beginning. And then slowly, living in Austria, then Germany, you start to develop your repertoire, and it just started to grow. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And Niels, to bring you back in, so was that your experience with Akiko, that she was going to do the lighter parts, or was it, how did you follow her career from this successful Donizetti?
I don't know what she's talking about now, actually. For many years, she has been a very lucky singer, because she was at a time where we still had partly this ensemble theater, and where people could grow. And actually, her main stream parts in the start were the Italian parts, and she has had the big luck to do all the Mozarts. She has done the Don Pasquale, Norina, she has done Alicia de More, Adina, she has done what is, of course, a big gift for any singer. She has done Sonnambula by Bellini. She has done Lucia de Lammermoor, and she has done Falstaff by Verdi. So she has really done all the parts that she should do. And that is, it is a rare thing nowadays, because careers have become much more fragmented nowadays. And this kind of slowly steadying career going forward is unfortunately something that we don't have so much any longer.
Okay, so talking about doing new things with a career, let's take a look at Akiko's stage direction of Piero Lunaire. Okay. So I have to say, Akiko, of all the sopranos that I've ever met, none has ever told me that she wanted to sing Piero Lunaire by Arnold Schoenberg. So tell us, so is that, why did you decide to undertake such an audacious, or actually I say that a difficult, challenging, time-consuming project?
Well, it certainly took a long time for me to form into this shape that you have just seen. Well, it is again the fault of Niels. Way back, again back in Innsbruck time, we had a lot of time together and we would discuss all sorts of things. And one day he just said, "Oh, you better listen to this. It will be a very good education for you." And he made me listen to Schoenberg's Piero Lunaire LP, old recording. And my first reaction was, "Oh my God, I cannot, this is too much. This is not music. This is hurting my ears." That was my reaction. But somehow this music stayed in me as the strangest thing I've ever heard in my life. And when I was in Kyoto, after some years, I have totally forgotten about what I have heard at home. But I was in Kyoto in a temple. And this temple was built for moon, to look at the full moon. It is so decadent. Some of the temples were built just to see the full moon. And this is a Zen garden with these pebbles, and they do incredible things. Anyway, I was sitting there with no music, no noise, just the moonlight. And in this silence, with the moonlight in my head, just came down the Piero Lunaire's music that I have heard. And I was talking to the Grand No Master, the No Theater, which is like the oldest performing art that we have in Japan. And he told me about the stories, all the background of No theaters, which has always to do with the moonlight. So I thought, wow, that's amazing. Maybe Schoenberg knew about it, about the No theater almost, I thought. As I then again listened to Piero Lunaire with the score in front of me, like the number 7 with the flute solo, it just sounds like the No flute, which on purpose distorts the sound and all this. And so it took around 12 years for me to form this marriage between the No theater and the Schoenberg. And I've slowly developed it. Nobody wanted to have this production that I had in my mind, but crazy enough guy in Japan, he said, "This is great. We will do this." And after I have produced it, it was a big success. And so we did it in different cities in Japan. And we have even done it in Switzerland, this festival. So it's been a big chunk of my artistic activities, yeah.
And so you work together with this other man from Japan in order to create kind of the stage props, the scenery. How did that collaboration go? Was there a lot of give and take?
Well, creation side was basically done by myself, but to realize it, I had wonderful, you can see from that video that you just saw, there are some Japanese writings. I wanted people to understand a little bit of what is happening. You cannot translate everything, and it's not necessary, but so that they can follow the history, the stories, the atmosphere. And I had a wonderful graphic artist with whom I have done this. And the screen that you see there, it is just what do you call it? Not Band-Aid, but the bandage, elastic bandage that I have sort of lined up on a wooden frame. And I go in and out of this. And when it's still, it is like a screen so that you can project the text.
Fantastic. Wow. So Niels, tell us, you again are you worked on this collaboration, you were conducting. How was that to have presented Piero Lunaire to Akiko some years back in Innsbruck, and then to be working on this this bold new production in Vienna?
No, I didn't present anything, but it was a very interesting journey for both of us, and especially for a piece that so very often seems impossible to make. And then with Akiko's grand idea of connecting it with Japanese snow theater was really fantastic. And it became really a wonderful production out of it, and it made sense, and very important work of art.
Wow, fantastic. So I'd like us to listen now to another artistic production of yours, which is Richard Strauss' Vier letzte Lieder. Wow, gorgeous. So tell us, Akiko, these are the last compositions written by Richard Strauss. I believe he worked in the same Volksoper in Vienna that you did. Tell us what do you feel when you sing this music?
Well, it is so grand. It is so grand. And I just think of the text that has been written and imagine how Richard Strauss must have felt as he was seeing especially the last piece, End of the War, destroy the city of his, and yeah. But it is interesting. This is from a live recording. It is, live performance in Tokyo with the Tokyo Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra, again conducted by Niels. How they have, I remember that experience, how they have changed from correct, all wonderfully played, into somehow this color of Vienna they could manage to portray. And the performance was extraordinary. Together with it, we did the Rosenkavalier. Niels, you can tell us better here. It was the Vienna repertoire, and it was just a fantastic evening.
Niels, tell us, also you, having worked so many years there at the Volksoper of Vienna, conducting this music by Richard Strauss. I mean, both of you still live in Vienna.
No. It's not quite true. We never did any Strauss there, Richard Strauss. We did Johann Strauss, which is also wonderful, and it is the same, two sides of the same thing. All the Viennese operettas, and of course, it is something you get in with the blood here in Vienna. You also know yourself, Simeon, from Vienna. You open the window, and all this air comes in that is full of this kind of music. And of course, it is a very, very big gift to live in such a city and to be a part of the music life there. And I find it so interesting also now when we are teaching, and also you see in this world and with this music we are doing, Akiko, she comes from the northern island of Japan. I come from Denmark, and we have students that come from all over, and they come together here in Vienna, and Vienna is really a big hot pot where everything is mixed, and it maybe we can, and Akiko also as teacher, that way can give something fantastic out to the whole world.
And it sounds like...
No, we can give it back, I would say. We could give it back, all the gifts that has been given us.
And it sounds like from the very beginning, that was the work that you've been doing, you coming from Denmark and the United States, Akiko coming from Japan and Australia, meeting in Tyrol, and being such a driving force in the cultural life of Austria. I mean, very inspiring. Tell us now a little bit, Akiko, about work in Japan. So, as I understand it, you've attained quite a famous status in Japan as a singer. Niels is waving, no?
Yes. I think if Akiko should also tell about the big influences of her life, she should tell about the Italian maestro Ubaldo Gardini, who really influenced her. It's probably the biggest inspiration of her musical life.
So true. I had this Grant Dixon, as I told you, from New Zealand. Great. He made the foundation of my technical structure as an instrument. Without him, I would not be here. But the musicality of it, the spirit of being an artist, that was all due to Ubaldo Gardini. He was working for Covent Garden, Glamborn. He has really made people like Kirite Kanawa. He was teaching her at the open studio. And for the debut of her in the Contessa in the Figaro, he told me he was working for 1.5 years to get this refinement. And he has done many, there are 2 or 3 books written about him. And there are many singers in the world who have had the chance to work with him, and they'll all say how great a inspiration he was.
How did you meet him?
I met him by accident in Tokyo. I was involved in the international workshop of Butterfly, and I participated in this masterclass. And ever since, I thought, I know nothing about interpretation of music. And before my big debuts in Sydney, as well as Musetta, especially in this role, Musetta, I had no idea how to become this character, this very Italian kind of a strong woman. And he helped me. He really helped me. And without his teaching, very intensive teaching, I would not have made it in Napoli.
And so similar to what you're telling us about auditioning for the choir, the opera choir in Australia, they told you, okay, you're not the right height. But then your teacher in Australia said, no, it's not about your height. It's about the voice that we're going to build, that we're going to find in you. So is that the same story about your interpretation, that you didn't really have an idea and that he really helped you figure out, okay, how to be the best Akiko as a character?
Yes. I mean, I knew that I had to know about the European culture. I knew that Italians are different from the Germans, and the Germans are different from the French, and so. But how different are they? What is the difference? And all this you have to know as a stage person, because you cannot portray characters without knowing it. And me going there for the first time in Europe, I realized that I really had no idea. Then I went to Ubaldo and asked him, how am I going to do about this? And so he has really taught me in every details how I need to, like the Musetta, how she would have to be. It doesn't matter who the regisseurs, the directors are, but you have to have the principal understanding of, if Musetta is like that, and then Mimi has to be like this, then how would the Rodolfo be? If the one character is like this, then you have to have the possibility in this team to have these ideas, the concept, and.
So Akiko, tell us about this success in Napoli, as you said. So what exactly happened? And I imagine that you were quite ready then to be Musetta.
Well, I was after these very intensive lessons. But the first thing that I did was how to walk as Musetta. I understood when I was accepted and I was given this job of Musetta, they were not giving me because of my big voice, not that I was totally unknown, of course. And I thought it must be because I'm exotic. They wanted to have someone fragile looking, delicate looking maybe, but somehow exotic. And I was right. So it was a modern staging. And I had a mini skirt and high heels, and I had to be like a cat. Obvious. I mean, I could sense it. And the mini was Barbara Frittoli. She was a second cast, and there was another. But anyway, I could see most of them are all Europeans, and I was a special little flower, so to speak. And so I had to have it right. However, the regisseur, the director, would demand out of me. I had to have this certain personality, certain spice as he would want it. And so I worked on that with this idea that it will be most likely like this. And Ubaldo taught me how to be then charming, but edgy, this particular musetta. And we did that as a total, not just for the voice, not just the acting, but as a total. And Ubaldo is a person who really can manage to do this.
So Akiko, when you're talking about becoming a strong woman, a strong Italian woman, the only thing that goes through my mind is that how strong you must be as a woman to be able to sense and to admit to yourself, oh, they're choosing me because they think I'm exotic and they want me to look like that and walk like a cat. How important is that to you, this resilient character, this, you don't seem to take things personally. You don't seem to have these ideas about yourself or what other people should think about you. How important has that been in your career, and how important is that to other people?
I mean, my father is a very musical person, amateur, but he was the first one who said, but Akiko, when I did not succeed at the conservatorium, the first year when I tried the entrance exam, I failed. And they said, you're too young. Your voice is too young. Your voice is too small. And when I had to tell my parents that I have not managed this entrance exam, my father's comment was, well, maybe you should think about it. Maybe you're not ideal. Maybe you're not supposed to be an opera singer. And he said, you're Asian looking, you're petite, your voice is sweet, but maybe it's not for a solo, maybe for chorus. He said, I don't know much about opera really, but if you're the main part, you have to look the part. And perhaps you don't look like Juliet from Romeo and Juliet. You don't have the look or perhaps all the ingredients you need as a solist. And he was right. How can I say against it? He was honestly telling me about it as a simple, person.
Sounds like a tough love. And your mom, how did she react?
Oh, I cried and I fought. And I said, how dare you? How can you say such a thing to a person who has just, oh, it was always a huge fight with my father. But it was right. And it was good that my father told me instead of saying all these nice things. So it made me realize I have to make this negative aspect, perhaps commonly spoken, as my weapon. I have to make somehow positive that I am petite and I am Asian exotic looking. And so acting was extremely important for me to make it possible.
Wow. Niels, so excuse me, continue.
To learn how would an European woman of a certain class behave? If you're Susanna, how would she be walking, acting, talking, and compared to the Contessa in a different hierarchy? And all these things, it was extremely important and interesting for me. It has always been my interest.
Wow, inspiring. So Niels, is that, has Akiko, since the moment you met her, that has always been the way that she's always been that, how shall I say, resilient? She's been strong. Is that common among singers?
Singers have to be strong. It's a very, very tough job. And it's a job with a lot of, it's a lot of failures. Not failures, but, a lot of, on the way to success, there are many obstacles you have to overcome. And I admire all singers for that hard life that they go through. I think normal people don't realize how hard it is and how hard they have to work, how hard they always have to look after themselves. And it has also become my life to take care of young singers, and I find it fantastic that these people, they really want to go through all this effort to go for their goal in life and give this kind of pleasure to all other people. Akiko is, of course, a prime example of a very resilient and very tough person who really fought her way and really used all what she had to give. And it is, I will say, it is not so much of all. One starts with a big talent. There are many big talents, but it's the will to work, the will to learn your whole life, and then also to enjoy your life with a big drop of discipline.
Wow. Isn't it? We see, like you say, we think of singers, sopranos in particular, as smiling on stage. Like you said, that's only one small part of the work.
It is tough work.
So let's take a look.
And we should all love them.
Yeah. Yes, please.
So let's take a look at the same Donizetti from 1992 that we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Fantastic. So Niels, back to you. Seeing this, how shall we say, success, this memory from '92. What do you say to Akiko today?
Oh goodness.
No, it is a long, wonderful life in this art, and it's a great gift that we have been allowed to do that, and Akiko has been allowed to do that, and she has done a great job. And she has had a wonderful career. She has done these big operettas at the Volksoper also, and she is representing her country in a very, very fine way. And she's, she didn't say, she's an icon in Japan. And she has a big responsibility also for the coming generation in Japan.
So Akiko, you, what do you think about seeing that? We saw, like Neil said, we talked about your past up to today. You've got a lot of work ahead. What do you think about when you look back at the past, all of your work with Niels, and what's coming up in the future?
Well, it's not that my career is finished yet. This is my actually 30th anniversary, because my debut was in '91. So,
congratulations.
Thank you so much. And next month, November 10th, I am giving a recital with the theme, this 30th anniversary in Tokyo. And so I am still learning new repertoire, and I'm still learning to do the disciplinary work. And it's never ending. And my love for performances is always there. The repertoire changes, and it is incredible how voice is a living thing. So you don't sit and think that you've done your work and that's it. Continuous work. And I learn by teaching young people very much. And I am grateful that I have a chance to teach young people in this great university where I work, MOOC. And I also have my own academy in Japan, Noura Opera Foundation, where I encourage the singers, not only singers, but also conductors, pianists in Japan to think more diversely, more internationally, more globally, and strip off a little bit of this, perhaps a little square thinking in Japan. That is something that I can do, perhaps, to encourage people to think a little bit more broader out there, and much more with enjoyment and trusting themselves, and instead of being told what to do, try to discover who you are, try to discover the way you feel, follow your instinct and pursue that direction instead of just eating what you've been told. And that is
fantastic. It sounds very Akiko to me, like a Akiko soprano. Fantastic. So let's see how we can stay in touch with Akiko. There's her website again, akikonakajima.org, which I will put in the chat room in a second. So Akiko, if we want to contact you, we just go over there to the contact.
Yes,
and
sure.
We can just fill in the contact form and you will get that? Yes,
I will. I am also on I have a little YouTube channel as well. You can just write down my name and then in YouTube, it will pop up.
There it is, Akiko Nakajima. There we have it right there. Wonderful, with all of the videos.
You can see, but there are some old recordings, or I will be putting some things when I have the time for it.
Wonderful. So I will put that also in the chat room, your YouTube channel. Fantastic. Put that in there right now. Okay. So thank you so very much to Akiko Nakajima, and thank you very much to Niels Moos. So let's take a look at what is coming up next Wednesday. We have Cicely and Madeline Parnas, Practice Does Not Make Perfect. Today's professional music instrumentalists, pianists, violinists, cellists, etc., may be surprised to read William Deresiewicz' introductory comments to his book, Excellent Sheep, a critique of elite American families' academic objectives, about, quote, the ability to engage in introspection as being the essential precondition for living the life of the mind, and the essential precondition for introspection being solitude. That's not news. Those professionals spend hours of their day in an introspective solitude that would probably give even an ascetic pause. And their quote-unquote practice regime doesn't need to be scheduled. It's pre-programmed to happen each and every day, including the 7th. Anecdotes about Freud report that he didn't believe creative artists were meant to develop healthy and happy lifestyles. Then again, the music he grew up listening to might have been categorized as Sturm und Drang. Psychology has evolved since then, of course, as have musicians and their concepts of best practices. What is the outlook of today's elite professional musicians? Is any semblance of the so-called work-life balance their lot? Cellist Cicely Parnas and violinist Madeline Parnas-Müller, two sisters at the top of their game, both renowned as instrumental soloists in their own right, and as the award-winning chamber ensemble Duo Parnas, invite us for an intimate discussion about musicians' faithful and multifaceted relationship with their instruments. As always, all information about upcoming shows is available at www.simeonmoro.com. So again, that is Cicely and Madeline Parnas, Practice Does Not Make Perfect, next Wednesday. Once again, thank you so very much to Akiko Nakajima. Thanks very much to Niels Moos. Thank you to Agnieszka Rivole for her support of this show. Most of all, thanks to you, our participants who make it all worthwhile. From Vienna, Austria, goodbye and see you next week.